scholar. He's helped DBT in translating many books, Acharya's books, into English. So with that, we are looking forward to hear from you. And thank you for inviting me, Prabhu.
Thank you for coming.
It's a blessing, Prabhu.
We are very grateful to all of you for meeting all the elements and giving us a opportunity to speak. Thank you so much.
Haribo! Haribo! Haribo!
Go Premanande. All glory to some devotees. All glory to some devotees. All glory to some devotees. All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Jnana-Timirandhasya Jnanam-Chakashakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swaram Rupa Kadamayam Dati Svapadantikam Mandeham Shri Guru Shri Vaishnavadam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaikam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Datta Shri Vishakamitam Shara He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatare Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Vrishabhan Sudevi Pranamami Hare Vancha Kalpatarishya Kripa Sindhu Jayasya Pajitana Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Madhavira Gopala Sri Puryat Kripayayati Tadevasam Mehakritva Krishyayus Priyadanaha. In the end of his 10th canto commentary, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur prays, my dear Lord Gopal, only if you accept my words to be your cows will they provide sweet milk and give pleasure to your pure devotees. So I have to pray in the same way. First of all, I want to thank those of you who have organized this program for your kindly doing so, and thank you especially for inviting me to speak here. Whatever few words I can try to say something. For the last 2 or 3 days we've been discussing Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, Sanskrit commentary, on Narottam Das Thakur's Bengali songbook called Prema Bhakti Chandrika. Of course, we know, and in particular, we're focusing on only one song in that songbook, and that is the first song in that songbook. It is the song we just sang. It is the song that Srila Prabhupada asked us to sing every day, and it is the song that Srila Prabhupada insisted that we not miss singing every day. So it's something to be taken seriously, at least because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur himself has also said that Narottam Das Thakur's words are as authoritative as Shruti mantras. Anyone who knows the difference between Shruti and Smriti can understand how powerful a statement that is. So, yesterday or the last 2 days we got up until I think Guru Mukunda Datta, and so that's where we will begin, or rather resume today. There's a lot of things that we've already discussed from his commentary, but we just don't have time. So here he gives a slightly different text than the one we just sang. We generally sing Guru Mukunda Datta, but he sings Guru Mukunda Datta, Hridi Kari Mahashakya, Arana Kari Homanyasha, or Arana Kari Homanyasha. And Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttamagati Je Prasade Pure Sharva Asha. That means that if you hold the words emanating from the lotus mouth of your spiritual master within your heart with great strength, and don't even consider anything else, don't be distracted or don't have any other aspiration, and you develop great respect and affection, love for the lotus feet of the spiritual master, that in itself is the supreme goal of life. And that also fulfills any desire you could have in life, either in the spiritual world or in the material world. So he says, Bhakya, well, I should say Bhakya, Krishna Bhakti Premarasa Tattva Upadesha Rupa Bhakyam, Mahashakya, Sri Krishna Prapana Shakti Yogyam, Uttamagati, Uttama Vadishyeti Uttamagati, Yadva Uttamagati Prapya Vastunam Shreshtham, Sri Radha Pranadam Sharan Kamalayoho, Sambahanadi Rupa Prema Seva. Ye Prasade Pureshara Asha, Sri Vrindavane Mani Kunj Mandire, Sri Radha Krishna Yoshchana Vyajana Pada, Sambahanadi Rupa Asha Yasri Prasadena Purnasyat. Here the words Vakya, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. Vakya, what does the word Vakya mean? Sentence or a statement of some sort. Words in general means words that take the form of instructions on the principles of the mellows of love, prema rasa, and regarding devotional service to Lord Krishna. And the words Mahashakya, which he's read in this particular verse, means greatly competent, means a power suitable to propel someone towards Lord Krishna. That Mahashakya is inherent in the order of the spiritual master, and particularly in the blessings of the spiritual master. That's why it said, Mukham Kurodi Vachalam Pangam Lankhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. The spiritual master can deliver us. How does he deliver us? To the extent that we can recite eloquent poetry even if we're deaf-mute or dumb. Mukham Kuroti Vachalam Pangam Lankhayate Girim. We can hop over mountains even if you're crippled. So, this is, in other words, as the Christians say, amazing grace enables us to do impossible things. Durakarta Kartana Vidhatri, Rupa Goswami said. So, yes. Uttamagati means that those lotus feet are both transcendental. What does transcendental mean? Uttama, above ignorance. That means transcendental. And one's ultimate aim, because Uttama also means above everything, the highest thing. Or it can just be taken as the best of all goals attainable from the lotus feet of the friend of Srimati Radharani's life. Transcendental loving service in the form of giving massage and so many things that we might do when we go back to Godhead for the divine couple. He says the words Jai Prashade Pure Sharva Asha mean that by divine grace one's cherished hope will be fulfilled in the form of massaging the lotus feet of Radha Krishna, fanning them with a chamara, and so on, in a bejeweled temple within some grove Nikunja of Vrindavan Dham. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment on this particular stanza. Now regarding Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Srila Prabhupada instructed us in 1976 to simply learn his books by heart. Raise your hand if you've learned Srila Prabhupada's books by heart. But that's what he told us to do. There was a court case going on because many young people, too young people, underage people, like me, were joining ISKCON at that time, and parents became very alarmed And because no one knew anything about Krishna consciousness or ISKCON at that time, they all decided that these people are kidnapping impressionable young children, kind of like what social media giants are doing nowadays. And they are, brainwashing them in this Hindu cult, some kind of, cult that I didn't have no idea what we were doing. To them, we were like tugs. They thought we were maybe sacrificing cats or doing who knows what we were doing. The people were ignorant in those days. So Prabhupada wasn't, and the devotees were all very alarmed because one such case even made it to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, believe it or not. Sometimes we see that wild cases somehow make it to the Supreme Court. We've seen this. But so this was one such case. And Srila Prabhupada, his disciples they were in their 20s, early 20s. I was not even 20, I was a teenager. And so they were all afraid of the Supreme Court judge. What will we do? New to Krishna consciousness, new to the world. But Prabhupada wasn't at all intimidated by this, not at all. He became more enlightened the higher up in the court system this case went. Because he knew all we have to do is present Krishna consciousness according to these books, and live according to these books, and we will win this case hands down. And that is exactly what happened. He gave the instruction. Whatever they tell you in court, you just erect a small table in the courtroom, and put all my books on top of that table and enter this as Exhibit A, evidence. And whatever they say, just open the appropriate book and start reading. What can they do? This will prove that Krishna consciousness is a bona fide religion. This happened in the 1970s. Now it's well accepted, but in those days people were ignorant. So, this is the idea here. Prabhupada actually had a standing policy that everyone should read his books 1 hour minimum every day. Raise your hand if you do that. Okay, 3 people, 3-4 hands I see. Most people in 2026, they don't read any book, what to speak of religious books. They read Facebook and that's about it. But Prabhupada told us, just learn these books by heart and speak virtually nothing else. And that's actually possible, because everything is in these books. Srila Prabhupada used to say, books are the basis. And to me that sounds an awful lot like what Vyasadeva wrote in his Brahma Sutra, when he said, Shastriya Nitvat. Anybody heard this? Yes. The ones who are reading, they've heard this before. The ones who are not reading, they don't know. Think about it. Anyway, so how should we hear the words emanating from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master? How should we do that? That's indicated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elsewhere, and in particular in his famous commentary on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 41. Anyone know that verse? I'll give you a hint. Vyavasayatvika Buddhi. Okay. All right. Got some recognition here. So that means those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, their aim is one. And other people are very splayed out. They're all multi-branched. Okay, so in his commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti writes these words. Think about this in regards to what we're discussing here. The words emanating from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master. I'm going to skip the Sanskrit because it's too long, but the translation is, among all types of intelligence, that intelligence concentrated on bhakti yoga is the best. Resolute intelligence fixed in bhakti yoga is of one type. The meaning of this is illustrated as follows. Now he's giving a hypothetical statement from a disciple who has this kind of intelligence. Quote, my sadhana is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, to remember and glorify Him as instructed by my spiritual master. That is also my goal, sadhya. It is my life-sustaining medicine, for I cannot give up the sadhana and the sadhya. This is my most desirable object, It is my duty, and nothing else is my duty. Nothing else is desired, not even in dreams. There may be happiness, there may be sorrow. Samsara may be destroyed, samsara may not be destroyed. There is no loss for me. Let there only be resolute intelligence fixed in pure bhakti at the feet of my spiritual master. This is how he defines Vivasayatmika Buddhi, and that's not insignificant. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada read this verse and this purport in Bhagavad Gita as a householder. Raise your hand if you're a householder. Okay, so think about this. When Prabhupada was a householder, he was studying these verses, unlike us. And when he read this verse, he thought, well, I do have an instruction by my spiritual master. He told me to preach to the English-speaking people of the world. And implicit in that order was that you have to go abroad, which he did. And so Srila Prabhupada considered this verse and its purport to be a major factor in his decision to follow the orders of his spiritual master, to come to America and give Krishna consciousness in such a way that we're all sitting here tonight. So it's very powerful. Now it's also said, Tato bhajeta mam bhaktya shuddha lurjhanishchaya. Quote, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction, end quote. Similarly, in Canto 4, Chapter 28, text number 50, Srila Prabhupada compares Malaya Dvaja's chaste widow, who performed the sati rite, to a faithful disciple, a comparison Srila Prabhupada returns to in many of the purports of that passage in general. What does he write? I'm going to quote. Quote, and this indicates that a devotee's wife must be prepared to act in such a way. Okay, this is on the mundane level, lokic karma. Similarly, a devoted disciple of the spiritual master would rather die with the spiritual master than fail to execute the spiritual master's mission. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes down upon this earth to reestablish the principles of religion, so his representative, the spiritual master, also comes to reestablish religious principles. It is the duty of the disciples to take charge of the mission of the spiritual master and execute it properly. Otherwise, the disciples should decide to die along with the spiritual master. In other words, to execute the will of the spiritual master, the disciples should be prepared to lay down his life and abandon all personal considerations. End quote. These are Prabhupada's words. And they're very meaningful words because we're talking about fulfilling the mission of the spiritual master in the absence of the spiritual master. In this case, my spiritual master is Srila Prabhupada. You know what Srila Prabhupada called the remaining 50% of his mission? In 1976 and 7, establishing Varnashram Dharma within ISKCON. That means not establishing it, it's actually just a choice. It's not work. It's a choice. It means following, period. And it's very simple. The Shishtacharya is there, the injunctions of the Shastra are there, the examples of our predecessors, they're all there. It's just a question of what we want to do about it. Something to think about in this regard. Now I'm going to give you another quick example of this mentality. On a train in India, Srila Prabhupada told two of his female disciples, both of them from the West, I want some hot rice. Bengalis and South Indians are allowed their hot rice, right? So they thought, okay, well, how are we going to do this now? We're on a train. So they went to the train kitchen. You've all seen train kitchens. And the two guys were there squatting on the floor of the kitchen, cutting up subsidies, and they don't speak a word of English. They just somehow try to communicate to these people, can we borrow your kitchen for maybe 20 minutes and we need to cook some rice for His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. These guys just looked at them like they were crazy and said, we don't talk English, go away. So they thought we weren't getting very far with that. They went to the TG. They asked him, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, founder of ISKCON, he's asked us to cook him some rice. Please allow us to cook some rice. Only 15 minutes we'll take. So the man explained very patiently, well, it's against our train policy or some such thing, he said. So Yamuna was thinking, Prabhupada asked me to do something, I have to do it. So she told this person, can you just bend the rules once? This is the founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He has made hundreds and thousands of people Krishna consciousness worldwide. He's a great Acharya, moreover he's a Paramahamsa. Considering your good fortune to accommodate this service, still he wasn't taking. What would you do? What did Yamuna do? And Palika, these are the two god sisters. What did they do? Yamuna went to the TT and said, look, I'm sorry that you have this, policy, but I'm going to cook rice for my spiritual master, and if I'm going to do it in your kitchen, and if you don't let me do it, then I'm going to jump off this train right now. So, 20 minutes later, they very happily brought Srila Prabhupada a big bowl of steaming hot rice, and Srila Prabhupada has hot rice. Now, obviously, Srila Prabhupada was testing those disciples. He knows it's impossible, but he also knows that these are my disciples. Maybe he even wanted to give us something to talk about 50 years later with regards to Guru Nishtha and Vyavasayatmika Buddhi and Guru Mukunda Datta. This is the principle. And we've already told you the ramifications. We would not be sitting here tonight if Prabhupada himself had not adopted the same mindset. Okay. That's that stanza. Now, regarding Sri Guru Charanegati and Shri Uttamagati, in the opening lines of the song, we've already considered how the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada are like Lakshmi. Sri Guru Charana. Yeah? No. In the first line. Sri Guru Charana Padma. Padma, yes. What does Padma mean? We talked about this last night. Pankaja. It's born in the mud, pushes through the water, comes out into the air, completely transcendental to its origin. This is a symbol of transcendence. And this is what shows us that the lotus feet of the spiritual master, Bhutale Hone Parthi, they do not actually belong to this world. They're on this world, but not of this world, put it that way. So, Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth, auspiciousness. Indra's prayers to Lakshmi Devi in Vishnu Purana are beginning Namaste Sarvabhutanam, Janani, very famous. She fulfills everyone's desires, or rather Lord Vishnu fulfills everyone's desires through her. Eko Bahunam Rovidhati Kama. That's from the Shruti mantra. Therefore, it's only natural that when one cultivates deep affection and taste for serving the lotus feet of the spiritual master, all of his desires become fulfilled. The word rati, what does rati mean? Love in general. Yeah, means many things, but it means also shelter or repose, believe it or not. One's ultimate resting place, among many other definitions. So it also means pleasure or taste, and so attachment is certainly implied here. Hence we translate it as attachment to the lotus feet of the spiritual master is the perfection and fulfills all desires. For this reason, one great Vaishnava poet, Vaishnava Das, has sung, Jaya Jaya Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru Adbhuta Jako Padakash Ya Ajnana Timira Varagyan Suchandra Kirana Karanasha. Glories into the lotus feet of our spiritual master, the desire tree that is our spiritual master, whose effulgent manifestation is most astonishing. The beautiful moonbeams of transcendental knowledge from him destroy the thick ignorance in one's heart. I have direct experience of this. The first time I saw Srila Prabhupada in June of 1976, when he graced the ground of Los Angeles with his lotus feet and his last trip to America. I spent the early part of this afternoon discussing this with Sanjayananda. Do you all know him, Sanjayananda? They don't associate. Okay, we're too far away. An hour is like over the top in America. So anyway, you might find out about him, you can ask him. But I saw Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles at that time. It was his last trip to Los Angeles. And he lit up the whole temple room just by walking in. It was as if the sun god walked in. Instantly, I knew he's not from here. It was quite obvious to me. Alright, so outside of the Saraswat Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, this song is the standard song for Guru Vandana, the one I just sang. We can observe that it also confirms what we heard from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti's aforementioned commentary. In Islam, Srila Prabhupada, we're so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has instead given us this song, which we sang in the beginning, Shri Guru Jagannath Padma, Kevala Bhakti Satma, Narottam Das Thakur's first song, this Prema Bhakti Chandrika. So, and he asked us to sing it daily, as I mentioned. Someone who takes its powerful meaning and words deep into the heart every day will definitely find that their every desire becomes fulfilled. That is a fact. So we don't seek to chase after material desires, but it is a fact that even they are also satisfied by divine grace. Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us, Sadhu Shanga, Sarva Shastra Koi, Bhavamatra Sadhu Shanga, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Sarva Siddhi Hoy का मतलब क्या है? Sarva Siddhi Hoy means Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Everything can be perfected. So, our spiritual master and founder Acharya is the best of the sadhus. This is the reason we call him Srila Prabhupada. All other spiritual masters sit at his lotus feet to humbly hear submissively. So cultivating attachment to him and taking shelter of his lotus feet in the association of pure devotees, every kind of desire is fulfilled. Of course, sincere devotees don't want to work to nourish material desires. And that's very well established throughout Srila Prabhupada's books, so I'm not going to dilate on it in the interest of saving time. But instead of material desires, devotees are very keenly focused on the kind of aspirations that are now specified in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on this song. What does he talk about? Anyone who is listening, you already know this. What did he mention specifically? What kinds of desires? All kinds of desires. No, Sarah, you are not hearing. All right, listen closely. A position of servitude within Radha and Krishna's intimate pastimes. Those desires are fulfilled, ultimately. Yes? Massaging the lotus feet, waving the chamara fan, bringing, so many things, yeah. Asha. What does asha mean?
Hope.
Hope, yes. Aspiration, cherished wish, ardent desire or prospect. Rig Veda suggests that ours is the spiritual abode of the Lord. Our asha should be the spiritual abode of the Lord, which the godly always look towards. Anybody know that mantra from Rig Veda? Om Tat Vishnoho Paramam Padam Prabhashanti Sureha Divida Chakshuravatam. Yes. So Vishnu, Paramam Padam, we're always looking to that. The very first lesson of this Prema Bhakti Chandrika is that we will find this only at the spiritual master's lotus feet and nowhere else. Cannot fulfill your heart's desire. You may fulfill your senses' desires, your mind's desire, your false ego's desires, your physical desires. Wotoho. You cannot fulfill your spiritual desires anywhere else. Only from the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So as we briefly explained previously, we're offering obeisances unto our spiritual master. And this is described in two ways in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 35. Mantra Guru Arajata Shikha Guru Gan Tahara Charane Age Kore Bandan. First, I offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master and at the lotus feet of all my instructing spiritual masters. So this is what we're doing here now. We come to this next stanza. Shakhudan Vilaje Jame Jame Prabhushe Divyan Hide Prakashito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hite Avidya Vinasha Jate Vede Gai Jahara Chavito. I'm going to again skip the Sanskrit commentary. Just think about this. We're looking tonight at a Sanskrit commentary on a Bengali song. How often does that happen? The song is in Bengali. The Sanskrit on that song, the commentary is in Sanskrit. That gives you some idea of the high regard Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had for these words of Narottam Das Thakur. Alright, so unfortunately we have to skip the Sanskrit. I'll just read the translation of his commentary, which is mine. In the lines beginning, Chakshudan Diloje, he means that we're talking about the one who has freed us from bodily eyes by delivering us from the ocean of material life, and confers upon us divine eyes capable of observing the transcendent supreme truth. I have some personal experience of this. Everybody wants to know personal experience, right? About 3 months ago, I was in Chennai. I went to Shankar Netralaya. Ever heard of Shankar Netralaya? Very famous, especially Chennaians know this. And I had to get a cataract operation. So for a couple of days, I was bereft of my physical eyes. Really couldn't see much, except I could see light. That's about it. Nothing clear. And I'm sorry to say, with all due respect to Johnson & Johnson's eye-hands monofocal lens, it's not like the ones that God gave me. Sorry. Shankar Netralaya. But, at least I have some eyes and I can see something, right? So we're very fond of our eyes, and we always say, I want to see God, right? Everybody says this. But in Kali Yuga, we don't really see God as much as we hear Him. Okay, say.
Shastra.
Hare Nama Eka Keva. Yeah. Mantra Murtika, Bhagavatam says. He's a Murtika. He's got no form, God. He's no material form. But he comes in the Mantra Murti. Mantra Murti means this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, our spiritual master gave us this mantra. I was so exhilarated when I first came across this mantra, because I had read Srila Prabhupada's books to some degree. I should tell you a little history here. I was interested in Hinduism from a very young age. In fact, I wanted to be a monk since I was about 10. My mother didn't take it seriously because kids say so many things, right? But I was serious. And she found out. Later on, she found out. But I, raised a Roman Catholic, I got more attracted to the Hindu faith because the Roman Catholicism just wasn't Hindu enough for me. So I practiced yoga, I became a vegetarian, I was interested in I started learning Sanskrit, and I had read many editions of Bhagavad Gita. My experience, however, was that I could not understand those editions of Bhagavad Gita. Maybe you have the same experience. The reason that we can't understand those editions of Bhagavad Gita is because The publishers also didn't understand. But when I read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, instantly everything very clear. Bilkul sparsh ho gaya sab kuch. And I was very happy because I could understand, at least theoretically, something about the very high nature of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Prabhupada said, very simple language, when you chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Radha and Krishna are as if dancing on your tongue. Kyonki Nama Chintamani Rupam, Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nityamukta Abhinatvam Nama Namino. According to Padma Purana, there is no distinction between the Lord and His name. Nama and Nami, and make way for it nice, is Harinam. So this is the thing. And I was so jubilant to have the opportunity to chant this name. Anyone ever heard this verse? Machita Navyata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam, one of the four Chatushloki from Bhagavad Gita. So there the last line is what? Last line. Krishyanti Charamanti Cha. What does Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur say about that? It seems like it's almost redundant, right? Krishyanti Charamanti Cha, he's saying, say like that now. Like a name. He says, Tushyanti Kama Labhagni, as I'm practicing Vaidhi Bhakti only, I should be satisfied that I have this opportunity. I felt that satisfaction because I grew up in Los Angeles, Hollywood. And there's everything available there, but not this. Not this. This is only something to be given to us. Don't take it for granted. Use it or lose it. So Tushyanti Cha means to be satisfied that we have this opportunity. We're sitting here in Lynnwood, Washington on, what is it, Friday night, correct? And you know, we could be so many other places. Would you rather be maybe in, let's say, you know, Vladivostok? Or maybe you could be in Pyongyang, North Korea? How about Kabul? Even a vacation in Jersey City? Maybe somebody's attracted to that, but not me. So we have this opportunity to come together and hear these things. That's great mercy, and we should be satisfied with that. Tushyanti Cha. Oh, Ramanti Cha Kama Kya Hai. Ramanti Cha. When we become perfect, no longer just Vaidhi sadhakas, but now we're Raga Magasiddhas, right? When we become perfect on that level, to offer the kinds of services that he's mentioned here, then Ramanti Cha. Then we really enjoy the real thing. You see the difference? It's a subtle distinction. Anyway, my point is that, at least because I had read Prabhupada's books, had some degree of knowledge by his divine grace, he freed me from these bodily eyes. He conferred upon me transcendental eyes. That's called Shastra Chakshu, or Jnana Chakshu, and with which I could appreciate. It's a great opportunity to chant this name. Not everybody can do it, but I was doing it. And what's the likelihood that a kid from Hollywood would be chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare? No likelihood until Prabhupada came and created that likelihood. Now it exists everywhere, but that's because he took the orders of his spiritual master upon his head. When he heard Narottam Das Thakur singing these lines, when he heard Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explaining these lines, he listened. We have to do like this. All right, so the spiritual master frees us from the ocean of material life, confers upon us divine eyes capable of observing the transcendent supreme truth. Here, Divya Gyan, and so on, refer to that by which the transcendental knowledge is illumined within the heart in the form of Krishna Diksha, initiation, Shiksha, instructions, and so on. This should be understood. And then the next line, Vede Gai Jahara Charito. This is also very significant. What does it mean? Vede Gai means that his activities, his character is what all the Shrutis, all the Smritis glorify. Where else are you going to go? From hearing anything in the Shrutis or the Smritis, you should develop the kind of character that he has. That is the perfection. Therefore they glorify his character. He's described, he says here, they're what is sung by the Vedas, and they're described as the essence of all Vedanta. Srimad Bhagavatam. Because this bona fide guru, or pure devotee, he's considered to be the external manifestation of Srimad Bhagavatam. He's walking book Bhagavata and devotee Bhagavata. They're the same. So, Vede Gai Jahara Charita. And Bhagavatam itself says, Acharya Ma Vijaniya. You should understand that the Acharya is me, Krishna says. Who's speaking in that verse? Who said this? Acharya Ma Vijaniya. Who said it? Krishna says. To whom does Krishna speak this? Uddhava. Yeah, this is a Vedanta canto. Okay. And similarly in the Chandogya Upanishad, we also hear Acharyavan Purusho Veda. If you have an Acharya, then you know something. You don't have an Acharya, Baba, you don't know anything. I was talking with this Sanjay Ananda. Yeah, we talked about the different ways that to distribute books in ISV. I was there last week. So he said, different people, you have to choose a different way to distribute books. He said, we distribute books to Americans in one way, but when we go to Indians, how do we distribute books to Indians? They come, generally they may walk up to our book table and we're holding the book out for them to see and they want to take the book, but then we pull the book away from them and say, no, this is not for you. You already know this. This is for the outside people. You got it? Yeah, you're supposed to think about this. Because generally that's what they tell us, right? So we believe it. Yeah. And we accept it. Yes, you already know this. So this is not for you. But we are giving these books to so many other people and spreading your culture and your spiritual heritage and all the things that you would like to know. And you could donate to that purpose. And then they're, because you told them that they already know everything, and because you told them how great their culture and their heritage is, and you've told them that you're helping other people to appreciate just like you do, then they're happily going to give you a donation. And at the end, when they give you your donation, then you give them a complimentary book. This is Vivasayatmika Buddhi. 50 years this man was distributing Prabhupada's books. 50 years, that's half a century, my friends. So he knows how to do this. Vaisheshika Prabhu, great soul. My God, brother. Okay. Acharyavam Purusho Veda. I just thought of that. And finally, Taittiriya tells us, Acharya Devo Bhava. Have you heard this? Yeah, Pitra Devo Bhava, Matra Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. So, Acharya Devo Bhava. You should consider the Acharya. You should treat him like God. Sorry? Yatha Sarva Vedanta Sara Shri Bhagavate. Alright, now regarding Chakshudan, the gift of eyesight, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur first notes that we've been given transcendental vision, and as such, we're comparable to Arjuna. What did he say? Divyam dadami te chakshu. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, Pashyami Yogameshwaram, Krishna says. So I'm giving you transcendental knowledge. You witness my opulence. Without such mercy, what was the likelihood that we could ever have understood what we know now about Krishna? Anyone in this room? Did you know everything you know right now? Did you know that before coming to Srila Prabhupada's books? No. So, one who can give that kind of benediction deserves our gratitude and fidelity forever. Okay? Alright. So, one who can give us this kind of knowledge deserves our gratitude and our fidelity forever. So that's why we say, Chakudanam Diloje, Janme, Janme, Lobushe. One time Srila Prabhupada also said, Janme, Janme, Pidashe. He's my father forever. Yes. The spiritual master gives the second birth, right? So he's also a kind of a father. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam, also in the 11th canto, we hear, O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you even if they were endowed with a lifetime of Brahma, because you appear in two features, internally as Super Soul, externally as the Acharya, to deliver the living being by directing him how to come to you. If one has made his Guru's instructions one with his heart, as we heard already, and as the Uttama Gati, the foremost goal of his life, he eventually becomes practically as realized as Swagati. This is his own goal. He realizes that this is my real goal. So Sridhar Swami's sub-commentator on Sridhar glosses the word Swagatim as Premavat Parshatva Lakshanam Gatim Yanakti. Swagati means that the aim of becoming a personal associate of the Lord who possesses pure love. So, Narottam Das Thakur expresses a profound gratitude. Anyone here an initiated disciple of Radhanath Swami? I'm just curious. But you might have heard Radhanath Swami speak. He always talks about this principle of gratitude, attitude of gratitude. So we're talking, Vishnu Chakravarti was talking about this. Should feel this birth after birth. Now, in modern society, due to the social degradation that ensues when people deliberately neglect their varnashram dharmas, we hardly even know what it means to have a master, nor do we know how to be a servant. Why? Because if you neglect the varnashram system, there's no servants anymore, there's no masters anymore, everybody's homogenized, means there's no bhakti anymore. It's like a social, mundane manifestation of Mayavad. Really, something to think about. So Prabhupada told us earlier that a disciple should have the same attitude as that of a sati, chaste widow, who is willing to die with her master. So the Shudras they're Shudras. They're not considered to be the top of the varnashram system, and yet they are. Why? Because everybody needs dasya. Everybody. Even if you're the highest in the spiritual world. What is the highest goal in the spiritual world? Radha Dasya. Correct? Have we heard this? Yes. You have to learn Dasya. Who are you going to learn it from? इसलिए वर्णाश्रम की जरूरत होगी ना, और इसलिए प्रभुपाद ने कहा कि हमारे 50 कम से कम 50% का इसका मिशन है. So, yeah, so this is the idea. It's as essential in Radha Bhakti as it is in mundane life. Now, Narottam Das Thakur's assertion that our spiritual masters are Lord birth after birth suggests not only the gratitude, but furthermore that a devotee doesn't even care about liberation. And Mahaprabhu also said the same thing, isn't it? Mama Janmani Janmani Ishware Bhavata. You can be my Lord birth after birth. Alright, so the point is that one can never change one's biological father. You may be estranged from your biological father. You cannot change. It cannot be changed, period. Similarly, one cannot find in the Guru. He gave us birth, or second birth, so he's our father. Mayavadis reject their Gurus once they think themselves liberated, but pure devotees feel so indebted that they are prepared to serve life after life out of deep gratitude and love. Lord, Guru, and Father should all be of one mind. And we've already heard that before from Taisya Upanishad. So, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Krishna Dikshadi Shikshana Rupam Divyam Jnanam Hriday Prakashitam. He illumines our hearts with transcendental knowledge in the form of initiation and instruction. So it seems like he's paraphrasing Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.98, which is where Goswami similarly defines this there. Accepting the bona fide spiritual master as one's life and soul and worshipful deity, the disciple should learn from him the process of pure bhakti by sincere service. By that pure bhakti, the Lord, the Supreme Soul, will be satisfied and give himself to that devotee. Okay. I'm going to summarize a little bit because I know we're running out of time. What time is it now?
8:06.
Yeah?
8:06.
Okay, we're already finished. All right, well, let me just see if there's more that I can say. There's so much to say about this, but I want to at least finish his commentary. He doesn't explain the line, Prema Bhakti Jaha Haitya Vidyaya Nasha Jati. It's kind of odd. When I first translated this commentary, I was really struck by how little he actually says here. I don't know why he's very laconic here, but he is. Anyway, so finally come to these lines. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janana Bantu Lokanath Lokera Jivan. Our spiritual master is like an ocean of mercy. You all live near the ocean, Pacific Ocean. You've seen the Pacific Ocean. How would you do if you were dumped 1,000 miles out in the middle of the ocean? Because Indians never swim, right? So, Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu, what does it mean? An ocean, just imagine how many tons and tons and tons of water are there. And this is how much mercy a spiritual master has. I took care of my elderly mother for about 4 or 5 years just before she passed away. And that is so stressful, I'm warning you. The day is coming when you will be called to do such things. And really, it nearly killed me, and I'm not exaggerating. But I used to think of what Prabhupada said and what his guru before him said, that we should be prepared to shed gallons of our own blood in order to save even one other person. Any doctors here? How many gallons are there in the human body? I don't think there's even 1 gallon. It's maybe a liter or 2. That's how much blood you have. So what does it mean to shed gallons? It means to put out more than you can put out. And you can't, there's only one way to do that, and that is if Krishna helps, which he will. Many devotees told me that actually when your mother had her stroke, that was her time to die. But because you were there, Krishna knows, you're going to give her prasadam, you're going to put the neck piece on, you're going to give her the tilak, you're going to do everything for her. And so she lived another 6 years after that. It was very difficult. Anyway, so he just ends like this. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes no more comments. I think he considers it very clear. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janana Bantu, that's us, Adhama Janas, right? And Lokanath Lokera Jivan, sometimes we sing Prabhupada Lokera Jivan. Ha ha Prabhu Korodaya, Deho Mone Palachaya, Evijash Kusha. I'm taking shelter of you, my dear spiritual master, please be kind. Taking shelter of your Lord's feet, the shade of your Lord's feet, and we will glorify your qualities throughout the 3 worlds. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, it's time to stop now. I've really omitted a lot of what could have been said here, and I think most of you have probably missed what we discussed in the previous 2 classes that we gave in Sequad. But if anybody has any questions or if anybody has any comments, we can maybe discuss for a few minutes. Yes.
So, I missed that point. You were telling your personal experience at the eye hospital there.
At what?
At the eye hospital, you were telling.
Yeah.
So I think I missed that point.
Yeah, no, he was making the point that the spiritual master has removed our material eyes and given us spiritual eyes. So I was just, it made me think of my experience. You know, Dr. Lingam Vijaya as a Shankar Netrala removed my material eyes, but Srila Prabhupada gave me spiritual eyes. And Lingam Vijaya also gave me some new material eyes, even though they're Johnson & Johnson eyes. But, yeah, anything else? Yes?
Hare Krishna. I would like to know, like you mentioned, like in the name the God is residing. In the name itself, the God is residing.
No, not in the name. As the name, God is residing
Yes,
on your tongue.
on that tongue.
Yes.
So how to motivate ourselves to realize that what we can put in our mind to realize as a God,
What to put in our mind to realize?
as a name as a God.
Yeah, that you just have to open Srila Prabhupada's books.
Okay.
That's why I always stress Prabhupada's books for this reason only. Because I've seen those people who have knowledge, those people relish Krishna consciousness, and they stay. Those people who don't, they get agitated, they go away. Period. It's that simple. You want to be happy and peaceful and advance spiritually and go back to Godhead hopefully, you just have to open these books because that's where the whole thing is. Prabhupada said this multiple times. Everything is in my books. He said it so many times. It's not that we should just leave Bhagavad Gita as it is. I see them in people's houses, shrink wrapped and everything, never touched. It kind of reminds me when my mother was in the hospital. Every nurse in Southern California happens to be a Filipina, it seems. So they all used to come and tell my mother that, you know, it's not going to help you to look at it, you got to eat it. About her medicine. You have to take the medicine, Baba. You're not going to get the disease rooted out of your heart until you take your medicine, period. It's that simple. So the medicine is, we have to hear from the Bhagavata, and we have to serve the Bhagavata. Actually, hearing from the Bhagavata is a kind of service to the Bhagavata also. You know, hearing and chanting are the main processes of bhakti. And the 9 processes are mentioned in Bhagavata, but the most important one, the initial one, is hearing. This is why, in Bhagavad Gita, the one verse that Srila Prabhupada spoke on more than any other verse, who knows?
7 God.
You know this. You studied. So, Krishna tells Arjuna, Yatha jnasasi tatshvino. You want to understand? You just hear. That's all. This is so simple, but people don't do it. We'd rather hear from CNN or whatever. So yeah, hearing is first, and then when we've heard appropriately, then we're actually able to chant properly. We can and should chant all the time. That's not an issue, but really we'll get the benefit. We'll start really awakening something when we chant with the proper understanding, because that's when we can also chant with the proper attitude. And attitude makes a big difference. We want to avoid any kind of other rasas. Anything else? Yes, prabhuji.
So, Hare Krishna. So you mentioned that.
You're going to have to speak loudly.
Okay. So you mentioned that up to 76 you were reading Bhagavad Gita, but nothing opened up. Like
Right.
you read Srila Prabhupada's, book. What was the reason for that? Because they're all English translations, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it. When I first came across Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I looked at the title, Bhagavad Gita as it is. And, it kind of struck me, the first impression was, well, that seems very presumptuous. Why does he say that this is as it is? And, what about all the other editions, right? But the fact of the matter is that I had read those editions and I didn't get it. It wasn't really a very clear message, it was very muddled. And the reason it was muddled is because the people who were translating and commenting and publishing those editions, they didn't accept those teachings in the manner that Krishna prescribes in chapter 4. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayodhava. Which means that, he's telling Arjuna, pointing out to him, that all the great Rajarshis in the past, they heard in Guru Parampara. This is how it was maintained. Now people have chosen, as a matter of fashion or business, to neglect the Paramparagat system of both hearing and Shishtachara, and because of that, the transmission doesn't take place. It's like this. If the husband is potent and the wife is fertile, then there can be children. Otherwise, if there's a problem on either end or both, maybe not. You see? So the disciple or the audience, the srota, has to be has to be submissive, has to be faithful, has to be intelligent also, but mainly submissive and faithful. And the person who's speaking has to be exemplary, and has to be learned, and has to have realized something. When you have that combination, well, put it this way, when you have received the text in Guru Parampara, that combination will be there. Because that is the Guru Parampara. And that is the entire significance of it. Guru Parampara system works. Other systems don't really work because they represent an adulteration of the product. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Yes. No, Maharaj.
Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. So my question is regarding when you said Tushyanti Ramanti Cha. So Tushyanti part is more like a very bhakti, and then Ramanti Cha is the Raganuga bhakti. So is there a natural progression from Vaidhi bhakti to Raganuga, or is like we have to cultivate it like as a sadhana?
Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, yes, Tushyanti Chara refers to the satisfaction of having the ability to even perform Vaidhi Bhakti sadhana. And then Ramanti Chara means to actually have the adhikar to be able to relish it on a much higher level. That's a fact. And the second part of your question, do we have to practice Raganuga, Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga sadhana consecutively, or
It's a natural progression,
Okay. Is it natural? It should be, yeah. If we follow the process simply, faithfully, submissively, and inoffensively, then yeah, it will be a natural progression. You will make advancement, there's no doubt about it. But the problem is that people normally don't do that. It's like I said, that, all you have to do is read Srila Prabhupada's books and you understand how to chant the holy name. But people won't do it. So, many poets have lamented this, that although people can easily follow this process, but they don't. What could be more unfortunate than that? Is that okay? Generally, Srila Prabhupada also, I'll add, that Srila Prabhupada generally used to emphasize that the most important thing, the preliminary thing, primary thing even, is to follow Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, because nobody does that. Everybody's expecting you to get an honorary degree without doing the work. So, that's the problem. But you actually can do both, in different degrees, simultaneously also. It's possible, but you have to be very sincere, and you have to be properly guided, and most people aren't. Is that okay? Anything else? Yes?
I think I was very inspired when you said that when you saw Prabhupada at age of 15.
It was an amazing
It
experience.
was an amazing experience.
Can't forget it.
I'm personally going through some struggle myself. How do you differentiate? We read these texts, we see what these texts are saying are so powerful and so different than what we are doing in our work life, in a normal life, we see that sort of contradiction,
Dichotomy.
And then we also read that we should not run away from our responsibilities.
Yes.
But then when we see people like you, right, like or other great leaders who have taken such bold step, right? So how do you how should a person like me sort of reconcile these things and maybe take the leap or
Take the leap of faith, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, don't do anything drastic. I mean, you have a family to support, you have bills to pay, and, you know, yada. So be careful. But, you know, at the same time, at least we should be thinking about where we're going. What is our goal? And do we have a strategic plan to get there? You know, we everything we do in life, we have a strategic plan for that, isn't it? Everything. If you think about it, if you're going to purchase a house, you do your homework. You put serious time and effort into that. If you're going to select a career, that's a big life decision. Who you're going to marry, maybe that's your parents' decision, or maybe it's your decision, but it's an important one. All these things, every step, we put so much care and attention into it, but when it comes to our spiritual life, everybody thinks they can just wing it. That's most unscientific. We have to use the same amount of caution in our spiritual life as we have in our material life. So yes, fulfill your material responsibility. Prabhupada is very big on that. But we should also understand very clearly what our actual material responsibility really is. And that's the hard part, because nobody wants that. I could say more, but I'm afraid to. So yeah, you have to perform your mundane duties. Krishna says, sacrifice, charity, and austerity, these things are built into our mundane dharmas, right? Swadharmas. So you cannot give those up at any point, Krishna says. They purify you, even if you're already pure. They still purify you. So we have to do these things, but we have to do it under proper guidance. We have to do it with the proper motivation. We have to do it with the proper goal in mind, as we mentioned already. Vishnoho paramam param divya chakshuratam pashyanti yat suryaha. Those who are godly, they see in this way. They think about what is the ultimate goal. Most of us are just thinking about, you know, getting the kids through college and maybe, you know, getting a promotion or paying off the house. All these mundane concerns are there. But, you know, how many of us are really making a strategic plan for going back to God in one lifetime? Not too many. So I'm just saying give equal time to spiritual life. If you think about it, that's really all what it really comes down to.
So building a strategic plan for...
Yeah, and that means really it invariably entails, necessarily entails, taking shelter of the bona fide spiritual master in exactly the ways that we've been discussing. And that's why we're discussing it. So, you know, yeah, Guru Mukunda Datta. It sounds fanatical, it sounds very limited and, you know, tunnel vision, sort of, but it's not like that. Because everything is encompassed within the orders of the spiritual master. Everywhere that Krishna is here, you know, there's no need of giving up anything. It's just a question of reinterpreting things in terms of our spiritual identity, actual spiritual identity and goal. Sadhya and sadhana both have to be considered. That's this whole arena of concerns is called sambandha jnana. And it's our first duty to really have, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Harinam Chintamani, without sambandha jnana, if we're chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we will not be able to relieve ourselves of these 10 offenses. it is someone again that allows us to do that. So we have to take it seriously, and that's yet another of many reasons that I always encourage people to read Prabhupada's books. Okay? All right. Anything else? If not, then we'll conclude here. Thank you all again very much for coming tonight and for giving me the great honor of being able to address you. You all please pray for me that I can realize the words that I'm speaking, because this is also over my head. Anyway, so.
Okay. Do we have time to do small kirtan?
You want to do a little kirtan?
Yes.
Everybody, anyone who agrees in part or in whole, please raise your hand. Okay. That means you want to do this. I got that from Paul Sheshika. He all said that. Whenever he proposes something Krishna conscious, he says, anyone who agrees in part or in whole, please raise your hand. Okay, so let me put Adhanik Talpatra away. This is a very nice harmony.
This is it?
Yeah, it's very worth.
Very good.
Very good.
He'll give it to you for free. Give it away right now.
No selling.
सबको distribute करके दो।
You can do 60. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna
So, thank you so much, Prabhu, for accepting our request. For a quick kirtan. Wonderful.
I heard this for the first time.
Prabhu, take it up. Hold it up. Hold it up.
So this concludes our pre-session discussion on Sri Guru Vandana, and we are very grateful to Prabhu for coming to Seattle after 6 or 7 years. So let's shared with the devotees over here. He's a world traveler. Meaning,
Alright.
huh?
Alright.
Yeah, so, Prabhuji travels with the Gopal deities everywhere he goes, and he takes care of deities so nicely. We have done this year, this time, I had opportunity in done it. But the next time, I'm looking forward to learning how to serve the deities. So, this morning, actually this evening, we offered some prasad, poga to Gopalji, and we will distribute that prasad